to the It's Your Effin' Journey podcast. My name is Melissa Hemming, and if a life coach and a therapist had a baby, you would get me. Happy New Year! I'm so excited to be back with you for season fucking 4. I can't even begin to express how that feels to say that. I can't believe that we've been here for this long. And I can't thank you enough for being here, sharing the episodes, telling your friends, telling me what they mean to you. Someone just messaged me this morning and said that she has started the whole podcast from the beginning. And she's like, I don't know what to do when I've caught up. She's like, I know that you record weekly, but that's how much she consumes me. Like, can you imagine that? That blows my fucking mind that people think I have something valuable enough to say. But that's imposter syndrome. And if we know anything from 2025, we have to have the confidence of a mediocre white male. If you were in my dating app and you could see the people that shoot their shot with me, who, I mean, good for you for shooting your shot. You don't know what somebody's into. But sometimes I'm like, come on, come the fuck on. But here we are in 2026, and I'm just so excited to be back here. I was thinking about how I want the podcast to go this year, and honestly, I don't know. I know I want to have more interviews. I have some people that, I'm trying to line up to come on and talk to me. I was even thinking about inviting some guys. That I've always sort of said this is a women podcast to celebrate women, which it will always be celebrating women. But there are some amazing guys who are advocates for women and have amazing stories to share. So we'll see how that goes. Tell me what you think about that. Tell me what you think about having male guests on the podcast, how you feel about that. But let's do this. Without further ado, what time is it? Podcast time. It's a celebration. What time is it? Podcast time. So this might be a little bit of a heavy conversation for the new year, but we go hard here, right? We go hard and we go real. And this has been on my heart to talk about first since, entering the dating world and being single and, meeting new people, but also since our wonderful administration decided that it was not going to be recognizing World AIDS Day anymore, which is actually December 1st. So we're a little bit behind, but that to me was like, okay, ding, ding, ding. It's really important for me to talk about this subject. It always has been really important to me to talk about this subject. But as I said, particularly now that I'm out in the dating world and opening my eyes to certain things that I'm being exposed to, and also because of our fucking terrible president and all of his bad decisions. So first, let's talk about one-on-one sessions. One-on-one sessions are open for the new year. The link is always in the show notes. Also, I am rebranding our club, our It's Your Effin' Breakthrough, the club. We are now going to be called the Positive Pickle Club. And you're going to miss this because you're listening to this on Monday and we will have done this yesterday. But don't miss any more. Don't miss any more group coaching because it makes such a difference in my life and I do a 5-day a week, let's say, miracle morning, to have the designated coaching time monthly to sit with these women and journal and meditate and talk about where we're struggling, where we're succeeding, where we want to move forward and have support around you is a game changer. So I want to see you in the club. It's a really low level way to take control of your mental health. I post weekly things to think about, journal prompts, just ways to level up, right? And I think that the more that we sort of intentionally walk through our weeks, remembering ourselves, our goals, our mental health, we all succeed. And who doesn't need that right now? So it is $19 a month to be part of the club. As I said, We have weekly prompts and weekly things to think about and monthly group coaching. And I just love it. And I can't wait. I can't wait for tomorrow. We're doing vision boards together and just sitting and figuring out what direction we want to take this year. And I know for me, it's always walking with intention, choosing joy, choosing happiness, saying no, saying fuck yes to the things that light me up. And this year is really heavy travel focused. So I'm excited. I'm excited for all that it brings. But that's what's going on. Everything else, all of that stuff is in the show notes. If you want to be up to date on the things that I have going on, I do have a weekly email that goes out every Monday too. So you can sign up for that. Just shoot me an email or shoot me a message with your email address and I'll get you hooked up for the email. So let's talk about it. Let's talk about HIV and AIDS. So one of my first jobs as a clinician was in a Ryan White outreach program. This was in 2006, I believe, or 2007, something like that. And what my job is Ryan White was a child who had AIDS in, I think, the late 80s, early 90s. And because of his story, a lot of education came about from HIV and AIDS. And these funds are for, lower income individuals to get access to medical needs, mental health needs, and just services that will help them. And I don't know what history you know about HIV and AIDS, but it has come a long way from the 80s / late 70s when it came about. There's a lot of stigma about gay men, a lot of stigma about, can you catch AIDS from, sharing silverware and taking and jumping in pools with people. And I got to see through this job, because what I would do is I had an office on Park Street in Hartford, and then I also had like different places in the community that I would go to, and I would run substance abuse groups, mental health groups, at outreach centers in the community where the people that were part of the Ryan White program would come and they would get food, and if they wanted to join a group, they could join a group, and there was all sorts of services there for them. I remember a lady who would come and do acupuncture. It was such a nice little community, and I fell in love with it. I really loved this job. I loved the clients that I worked with, and because of my work there, as I said, I fell in love with the HIV and AIDS community. I saw the struggles that they would go through. I saw, the relapses that would happen around the holidays when they would be around their families. A lot of their families, had blacklisted them, didn't accept them for one reason or another, whether it was the HIV or AIDS or whether it was their substance abuse use. It was a community, and the people in it made such a profound difference in my life, and I've never forgotten it. But it's also been something that was really eye-opening to me about, how a lot of people contracted this disease. And a lot of it obviously was unprotected sex. And so to this day, when I have kids, when I talk about sex with people, I talk a lot about using protection and protecting yourself. And it really disgusts me even now, like when I'm watching. Oh no, why is my battery low? My thing is plugged in. No, don't die on me, computer. No. I'm back. My computer died. But it really always disgusts me and shocks me that, like, while watching movies or TV or really anything, that they don't talk enough about using protection and why it matters other than preventing pregnancy. So I had this, as I said, on my heart to talk about. And it's funny because the other day my daughter came to me and she was telling me that someone that she knows is pregnant. And, you know, not with the guy that she's pregnant of the baby. And this is not a place for me to be judgmental at all. I don't want to come off that way. But the first thing that I think about is, okay, so you're pregnant because you had unprotected sex with a guy that you're not with. But what's more alarming to me about that is that you're having unprotected sex with someone that you're not with. And I know from working in the field how I remember such horrible stories of, you know, people being cheated on and people finding out, you know, that they had contracted this HIV from their partner, their long-term partner that they trusted. And if you can get HIV from having unprotected sex in your own relationship where you trust the person that you're with, imagine what happens when you're not in a relationship and you're having unprotected sex with someone. You just don't know what someone else is capable of. And I don't mean that as like to scare you, but I do want to scare you enough to teach your kids and you yourself, wrap that shit up. Protect yourself. Protecting yourself and using protection, to me, is like a self-love act. It is protecting your body, your health. It is saying that above anything, I am looking out for me and what is right for me. And I do not want to have a situation come up where I find out that I have a lifelong disease because I put myself in an unhealthy or unsafe situation. So when I hear about, like, you know, preventing pregnancy and I'm like, what about the fucking diseases? What about protecting your body? What about owning your body? And this is what I want to also tell you guys, is that out there in the dating world, there is a lot of men who have an issue with condoms. There's a lot of men who don't want to use condoms, who say that they don't enjoy sex as much without condoms, who will ask you to have sex without condoms, who will say they are not for them, or they just make it very clear that that is what they want. And the amount of men who I have heard this from astounds me. And it just makes me even more hyper aware of what women are exposing themselves to. I see it, like, oh my God, I see it all the time. And it makes my head spin because I just want you to be safe and I want you to know what you're walking into. And you just don't, unless you know that this person has, you know, gotten tested and shown you the results. Even my belief of using protection, I still get tested regularly and often because it's really fucking important, because it's your fucking health. I had a client the other day who found out she has chlamydia. She had recently broke up with her boyfriend. Her boyfriend was unfaithful and gave her chlamydia, and she had no idea, but she just decided to do the STD test at her physical, and then she found that out. So it is so important. And so my kids get sick of me. I have shown my kids, because with the health department, I don't know if they do it anymore, but in my job as a therapist, the health department would often give me free boxes of condoms that I could give clients. And I've always had them in the closet here. And I've shown my kids, like, wrap your shit up. Wrap your shit up. Do not get pregnant. First of all, don't get somebody else pregnant, but protect yourself. Protect your body. That is your one body, and you deserve to protect yourself. And it doesn't matter if you're with a guy who says that they don't get as much pleasure from condoms, too bad. So sad. You want to be with me? Wrap that shit up. There are ultra thin condoms. There are, ribbed for her pleasure condoms. There's tons of different condoms. And what matters is that you're protecting your body and you are keeping yourself safe. And someone else's discomfort, if that's not for them, bye-bye. There will be somebody else who will respect you where you're at, respect your body, respect your choices, respect your decision. And honestly, if someone is not willing to make you feel safe enough to put on a condom or gives you pressure about taking the condom off, is that really someone for you? I hope the answer is no, because I hope that no matter what, just like me, who had to get this fucking tattoo to remember herself, I come first. My comfort comes first. My body comes first. My desires come first. My goals come first. And it comes back to like what made me decide to get healthy all those years ago. I would be sick to sit down and tell my fucking kids, I have HIV because of what? Because I was with someone who didn't want to fucking wrap their dick up, or because I was too insecure to in the moment make them put on a condom? No fucking thing. Like, that would be humiliating for me. Just like when I was like, I have to quit smoking so that I don't have to ever sit down my kids and tell them I have lung cancer from smoking cigarettes. That would have been terrible for me. Same thing I think about. I never want to have to sit down my kids and tell them I wasn't strong enough, or I went back on my own beliefs, or I didn't put myself first enough to say this is what's right for me. And that takes practice. I think that the more that I've stepped into this, I don't even want to say new Melissa, but I guess single Melissa and independent Melissa, it does take practice to stand up for yourself. And it does take practice to say, this is what's right for me. This is what's not right for me. This is what I'm looking for. This is not what I'm looking for. And sometimes, especially like face to face or in the moment, can be harder, but it's just like flexing any muscle. The more that you do it, the easier that it gets. And I also want, like, when it comes to sex education with your kids, I know I am on the way liberal end of it. I've always sort of had an open policy about what we talk about in our house. And because I come from the school of thought, and I think that sometimes if you've had things held back from you, or you've had information protected, or there's a word that my friend uses, I can't remember. Shielding. If you've had things shielded from you, maybe you're not super comfortable or super familiar with, if you've had things shielded from you, I am on the opposite end, right? Like, I had things shielded from me when I was little, and even to this day, sometimes my parents don't tell me things because they want to shield me. I always am like the overgiver in information because I don't want my kids to like wonder about things. I want to be an open sounding board of information, and I want to have told them things so that when they get out into the world, they know the truth. And maybe if, I don't know. So it's important to talk about sex at any age with your kids. And I'm actually going to pop a link in the show notes about how to talk to your kids about sex at different ages. My school of thought, I believe that even if it goes over their heads at a certain age, the things that they learn about themselves through the conversations that I have with them are important, and they can come back to it later when they do understand it more or do have questions about it. But it's sort of like being adopted. I'll use that as an example. Your kid, if you have an adopted kid and they are 6 months old or a year old, maybe they don't conceptually understand all of the elements of what adopted means. But I believe as long as they have that language and they know that to be truth, who the fuck cares what they think about that? As they age, they'll come back to it because they know it's a subject that they can talk to you about. And that elicits conversation and, the ability to have a good relationship with your kids, I believe. So even if you feel like, they may not be there yet. That's okay. You can say things that will answer their questions or even start to elicit this sort of conversation that allows them to know that you're a safe place to have that with, that they can have that conversation with you. And wrap that shit up. And I know a lot of you listening are probably, it's funny. Like, I feel like in some ways my audience is changing in social media and in the podcast because I'm single now. I'm not married anymore. I'm not, I have children, of course, but they're sort of getting older. And so a lot of people listening may be like, okay, well, I'm in a committed relationship. And I think that that's great, right? I think it's great to be in a committed relationship, but I think it's also important to talk to your partner about these things and, to have conversations about these things, no matter where you are in your relationship. I think talking about sex and talking about your body and talking about what you like and what you don't like and exploring, I think all of this falls under the same category. So wherever you are, whether you're in a marriage and you have unprotected sex, do a check-in with your partner. See how they're feeling about your relationship. How are they feeling about your sex life? How are they feeling about, fantasies that maybe they've had or maybe they, have thought about that maybe they put on the back burner. I think anytime you can sort of revisit with your partner these sorts of things is important, especially as you evolve, because that's part of growth, And, I know that part of me moving into this phase of my life was really sex forward and really about fulfilling things that I wanted to fulfill and fantasies that I've had and experiences that I wanted to have, and honestly exploring my sexuality more. And how do I do that safely? I do that with protection. So, that's what it comes down to, and how you do that and how I feel good about that. And again, like I always say this in the podcast, like it's me laying my head down at night on my little pillow at night, and I can think about how I've shown up for myself that day, or shown up for my family, or shown up for the world. And for me to know that I am exploring myself safely and exploring my desires in a safe way that aligns with my goals is I use protection. That's just that's what it has to be. If you don't use protection, you are having sex. I was literally like on a rant the other day. My kids were like, oh my fucking God, who got her going? But like, if you are having unprotected sex with people in the world, you are having sex with every single person that they've had sex with. It's sort of like Sabrina Carpenter's song, Taste. When you think about that song, right? I heard you back together, and if it's true, you'll just have to taste me when he's kissing you. Like, that's what you're doing with the bodies. And again, I don't want to scare you, but I do want to scare you, because I want you to say, I want to be sex positive, body positive, exploring myself, but I'm also going to protect myself. I'm going to protect myself. I'm going to show up in a way that honors me. And if that fucking dude won't put a condom on or won't shut the fuck up about not wanting to put a condom on, say goodbye. There's another Sabrina Carpenter song. Goodbye means that you're losing me for life. All right, guys, I love you. Thank you for being here. Happy fucking New Year. I can't wait to do this all again for you, or with you and for you and all the things. If you liked this episode, share it with someone, send it to them, take a screenshot, tag me, join our Positive Pickle Club, and say yes to your mental health this year. I love you. Mwah!